Disclaimer. The Minority Report podcast by Mike V. Minor. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are mine and mine only and do not reflect those of any affiliated individuals, organizations, or employers. This content is for entertainment and informational purposes only, so listen with an open mind. And if you don't agree, that's cool too. They tell you America's about equal opportunity. But here's the thing. We don't start equal. Some people are born with more money, more mistakes. Others, less of everything. Less water in a cup. Okay, so real quickly, as you can see on my little display, my little experiment, this glass right here is going to represent the privileged, white privilege, patriarchy, the rich. And this cup represents the less fortunate, the underprivileged, the poor, African Americans, women. And so as you can see, this cup has way more in it and this cup has way less. This cup represents America. So this is how America is right now, okay? Where you have the people who have more, they take up this much of America. And you have the people who have less that take up or give up that much. So as you can see, the more got poured in with the less, and they created this, all right? This is America. This is how it is right now. That's not how it should be, okay? So what I'm going to do is now let's replace that glass with this glass, okay? Let's talk equality. Now, we say just make it fair. But when you pour everything together, somebody else is losing and somebody is spilling over. So in this example, this is how we would like for America to be, okay? Still the privilege and the less privilege. But this is them full of themselves, okay? And they want to pour everything into the same cup. And they want equality. So notice how it spills over. It's not enough space in America to fulfill everything that they're talking about. So it's spilled over, okay? That is America and what people are trying to achieve. Now, here's the part that nobody talks about. It's just not different amounts. It's different things entirely. Okay, let's start another experiment. Money's not the same as safety. Safety ain't the same as influence or privilege. Okay, so you see this right here? This is America, the way people see it. These are the privileged and these are the underprivileged. When you mix it all together, yeah, you get something new. See that evenly. Yeah, you get something new. Some people hate the taste. Some people love it. That's compromise. That's America. That's what America should be, at least. So the real question isn't how do we make it equal? It's what mix are we willing to live with? Okay? This one's I kind of like it, you know. Regardless, you can see it's real. Okay. This is what this episode is going to be based off of. Not juice, but two truths. Okay, mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome back to the Minority Report. This ain't about who owned who online. No dunk contest, no meme wars. We're past that. Okay. As you can see with my little experiment, I did this because let me give you guys a little bit of the background, okay? I've had a very interesting month, and it's been very successful. So I want to say that first and foremost, thank you to all the new subscribers and new followers that I have, the people who've been supporting me. I'm going to give a lot of shout outs towards the end, and I got smoked for a few folks. You feel me? If you look at my last episode, I made one mistake and I put it at the bottom of my episode. Hey, I made this mistake. So I'm trying to keep it as neutral and as truthful as possible. So please, please, please save the BS, okay? Okay, so this episode is about two truths that can exist at the same time, but life forces you to choose which one matters more. Safety or freedom, fairness or ambition, justice or forgiveness. Nobody wants to say it out loud, but your answer changes everything. And I'm not just talking left or right. I'm talking you. You ever notice how we love calling out bias in other people but can't see it in ourselves? That's what we're breaking down today. Not to prove a point, but to find out why we even pick the side that we pick. So before you get mad in the comments, breathe. I'm not here to preach. I'm here to poke at the part of your brain that got lazy. Matter of fact, let's test it out, right? 2 truths, 1 answer, rapid fire, no prep, no Google, just your gut, all right? I'm going to throw out some questions. You pick an answer. 2 truths, but you only get 1 choice, all right? Here we go. Rapid fire, okay? Was Trump's prosecution a witch hunt or false accusations? Do tax cuts mean the government makes more money? Will the world stop producing electric cars because we slow ours? Do oil companies receive subsidies? Rank what's more important, safety, fiscal responsibility, or health? Put all your answers in the comments, okay? That was fun, right? Thought-provoking. Just think about it, okay? Well, I got a few more. Let's try this. Should free speech include hate speech? Should free speech include fake news? Are protests more effective when peaceful or disruptive? Is America safer now than it was 20 years ago? Should the U.S. stop all foreign aid until domestic issues are solved? Does cancel culture exist, or is it just accountability? Is bipartisanship even realistic anymore? Are reparations for slavery fair or unfair in 2025? Should immigration be merit-based or humanitarian-based? Do both parties benefit from keeping us divided? Is capitalism compatible with true equality? See what happened there? That's the whole point. These snap takes, they show us where the cracks are and where we can't even keep our own logic straight. See how fast those answers came out? That's the thing about truth. It feels simple until you see the people behind it. Let's take gender, power, culture. And matter of fact, let's talk about this conversation I had with a group of women about women's rights. I'm scrolling through lives, right? On TikTok, usual tactic, test ideas, see what pops. I hop into this one live stream. Shout out to them. I got smoke with them, but shout out to them, all right? And the conversation is basically, it's always men's fault. Patriarchy, BIPOC, LGBTQ vibes, supportive space, okay? So I get on there because they're saying all this is always men's fault. And I push back, saying all men just don't want women to advance. That's ridiculous. They gave an example. She said, my dad is not a part of the problem because he literally crosses the street when he sees a woman jogging, so she feels safe. That seems a bit much, but okay. And I said, I once just smiled at a woman on a staircase and she smiled back, and I felt like that was enough. It wasn't not enough. Well, you don't know. She probably breathed a sigh of relief. And I'm like, come on, look, all right. I mean, I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know what her past traumas are. And respectfully, I just think that being a good person, or I like to think I'm a good person, and just not harassing her should be good. We should be fine. You know what I mean? But no, like, you want to bring up, oh, your dad crosses the street. And my whole thing is like, okay, well, how, respectfully, how does your dad pick up girls? Is he married? How did he meet your mom? Like, I don't know, based off of what they were saying, a respectful way to approach a woman, and get their number. Like, is it a problem that I see a beautiful woman and I want to meet that beautiful woman, speak to that beautiful woman? Is that's a problem? Anyway, they mix. Anyways, so, I guess it is what it is, right? Then we get to the idea that benefiting from patriarchy equals that you're evil. I said, I get it. I benefit. I'm a man, but that doesn't make me a monster. That argument reminds me of how some black people talk about racism like it's 1865, ignoring growth while ignoring current reality. If you want to hear what I think about that, you should look at my other episodes. I think that was episode 2. And here's the empathy gap. Men don't get catcalls every day, right? Most men approach women over and over, maybe 10 women to get one who responds. This is anecdotal, no stats to quote, but that's our reality. So then women say, you objectify us. Fair. But understanding manhood means seeing that pursuit is built in. Expecting men not to act on that without holding them accountable is unrealistic. But expecting them to give up pursuit altogether, that's unfair too. Then you layer on the Diddy case, right? Hollywood sex parties, promiscuity, nothing new. But abuse is wrong. Absolutely wrong. Men, and I will say this for the record, and I will always say this. You can ask anybody who knows me or whatever. I am very big on this. I do not believe under any circumstances, unless it is life or death, should a man put their hands on a woman in an effort to harm them. Even if he is trying to protect himself, they should never put their hands on women in an effort to harm them, only to defend themselves. Okay, only what force is necessary. That goes in all situations. The only time that I may even shift it is if this woman is actively trying to kill you. And even still, it's like, dang, you do not have to necessarily harm that woman to protect yourself. That's how I feel. Okay. And if you think these celebrity cases don't mirror real life, check out what happened today. Okay, or actually yesterday. Shannon Sharpe, ESPN legend Hall of Famer, had just inked a multi-year contract extension in 2024, reportedly part of a massive $100 million podcast deal in the works. All right, then in April 2025, a $50 million sexual assault lawsuit surfaced. He denied everything, called it a shakedown, but settled in July. Guess what happened? ESPN, who is connected to and owned by Disney and Hulu, quietly parted ways with him. First, actually in April, they were like, yo, take a break. We'll revisit. He said he expects to be back during preseason of NFL. Then the settlement happened, and then they parted ways with him. No criminal charges, just the allegation, the settlement, and gone. Now, I'm not here to say he's innocent or guilty. I'm just saying this is about, and I say this as politely as I possibly can. This is about a private situation. Him having sex with a woman and that woman having a dispute with him. She's now alleging that he did stuff. It hasn't been proven, but she was able to put these allegations out there. And now that man's deal and a lot of his stardom and a lot of his hard work that he's done post football is now in the flux. That's messed up, y'all. That's the pattern here. You're at the top, then someone steps forward with an accusation, and just like that, your public value evaporates. Look at Diddy. Talks of buying an NFL or NBA team, if I'm not mistaken. He was running Revolt TV. Bad Boy Empire was expanding. He's doing big business. Then came the federal indictment, sex trafficking, racketeering charges. But jury clears him on the big ones, convicts him on a lesser one, and suddenly the power shift looks murkier. Now, let's also say this. I saw the Cassie tape and everything, and I revert back to my original statement when I said no man should put their hands on a woman in an effort to harm them unless slight chances that they are trying to protect themselves. Okay, so with that statement being in place, okay, obviously I don't support that. That's not what he was on trial for. He was on trial for sex trafficking. And everybody wanted to see him go to jail for sex trafficking. Y'all remember OJ? All right. I think we all could agree that man did it. But he was acquitted. It's truth. And he gets arrested for stealing his stuff back. Stealing stuff that was stolen from him. He stole it back. His own property. He got a burglary charge and he went to jail. And they threw the book at him because they're like, yo, we couldn't get you for killing old girl, but we got you on this one. Yeah, but y'all remember Bill Cosby? Boy, I'm an 80s baby, y'all. I remember the Cosby Show. That was one of my favorite shows. Bill Cosby has done so much good for the community, right? He was an icon, undoubtedly. So much so, a myth even floated that he paid for Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream PA system. All right, that's not true, by the way. But there's always a narrative about giving back that vanishes when allegations surface. Y'all, the man was arrested for drugging and having sex with women. A drug that the woman reportedly said she knew she was taking a drug the woman reportedly asked for. It was like 50 allegations of this, right? And then all of a sudden they started a rapper and they found one and they made it stick and they tried to get that man life in jail. Not leaving in the context that this was widely accepted stuff. And I can't say it again. If I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, the woman knew that he was doing it. She asked for it. They tried to put that man in jail forever. The man was blind. Ain't it crazy that came around the time he was trying to buy NBC? He was in talks. It was working out. Then that dropped. Oh, let's start touching on it. All right. Respectfully. Michael Jackson, at the height of his power, bidding to buy the ATV music catalog, which gave him rights to the Beatles songs. He was fighting Sony for control, pushing for bigger ownership. Then came the child molestation allegations. Acquitted, but his reputation never recovered. And let me be clear, I'm not commenting on guilt here. I'm just pointing to this pattern. Powerful black men with business ambitions often face public backlash via allegations, sometimes years long. So when community chat gets loud, calling out patriarchy and injustice, just remember, these cases aren't isolated freak shows. They're mirrors. They reflect how quickly society can switch from admiration to condemnation when power meets scandal. Accountability matters, but so does fairness. So here's the bottom line. Equality doesn't mean you get a safety net. You can't demand equal power and ask for exemptions. Accountability has to cut both ways. Survival instincts aren't gendered. Power corrupts both genders, but we've got to accept responsibility equally. These conversations aren't just gossip. They bleed into politics, they bleed into justice and parenting, and until we can hold everyone equally, we'll just keep arguing about who runs the world instead of fixing it. At the end of that conversation of the women empowerment is always men thing, I said, tell me about some programs that are doing work to help make the world a little bit better or to kind of help end this whole gap. She sent me some stuff and I told her, respectfully, I will check these things out and I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna do a deep dive into it, and I will actually talk about these on my platform, even though I don't have as many followers. Hopefully this will grow into somebody will see this retroactively and they will look into these platforms. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm holding true to my word, even though your whole show is ops. NOMAS, and I'm going to put the names right here, of course. NOMAS, National Organization for Men Against Sexism, all right? NOMAS is a pro-feminist, anti-racist group encouraging men to challenge sexism, reject toxic masculinity, and show up better for women. I support them because redefining masculinity is part of making a safer world for my daughters and sisters. And, my mom and my aunties and everybody else too, okay? ACT UP, AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, okay? ACT UP started during the AIDS crisis using bold, direct action to demand government accountability. And today they still fight for health, equity, and human rights. All right. And I respect their boldness. They have real change, often needs that same energy in every movement. Okay. White Ribbon Campaign. The White Ribbon Campaign is a global pledge by men and boys to never commit, condone, or stay silent about violence against women. And I back this because holding other men accountable is something I want modeled for my son and for the men around my daughters. Okay. And of course, I try to hold myself accountable, even though, I like women. Yeah, I do indulge. You feel me? But I do still think there should be respect. Okay. MVP, Mentors in Violence Prevention. Okay. MVP teaches athletes, students, and soldiers how to step in and stop harmful behavior before it escalates to violence. And I like that MVP pushes men beyond not part of the problem to actively being part of the solution. Okay. And the last one, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is that event where men literally put on high heels and walk a mile, sparking empathy and raising awareness about sexual violence. I like the symbolism. And the conversation, it starts about empathy and action. I love that. Literally walking in women's shoes, zoom out. It ain't just men and women bumping heads inside our own communities. We got a whole different war going on, okay? Black conservatism, new party talk, and nobody wants to admit we might be split on what progress even means. Let's get into family matters. So here's what sparked this whole thing, okay? Some women paid a universe or whatever to see me get dropped. So I was dropped. And you know what? At least I helped the cause. All right. At least I raised y'all more money than y'all was raising yourselves. Shots fired. Anyways, I'm hopping through lives, and then I see another live, right? And the headline says, Black conservatism isn't just an idea, it's the blueprint. All right, that caught my idea. Okay, well, let's see what they're talking about. Let's figure it out. Let's see what they're talking about. Check it out, all right? I'm saying this while I'm in Chicago, a city that's basically ground zero for Black migration, church culture, political machines, all the contradictions we're about to talk about live here. I'm here right now. So I'm hoping to pull in some of that energy as I do this segment, okay? So, we're talking, and the woman has us say, Google the pillars of Black conservative movement. For Black conservatives, emphasize traditionalism, patriotism, self-sufficiency, strong culture, social conservatism, fiscal responsibility, and all that within the context of the Black church, okay? I read that and went, well, yeah, that's us. That's me. That's my parents, my grandparents, half the folk who moved here from the South, chasing a better life, praying first, hustling hard, keeping the family close. Even the loudest liberals in our family still live by those conservative codes. Okay. So I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds about right. And like I said, I do identify as a Black conservative. Okay. And that's where I had to check myself, because politically I align with a lot of liberal stuff, social justice, police reform, protecting marginalized folks. But values wise, I lean conservative: family, faith, accountability, fiscal responsibility, hustle, patriotism, all that. All right. And being in Chicago, where you see neighborhoods split between old church neighborhood folk and young progressive activists, you feel that tension. And let's not forget the YNs, by the way. You feel that tension even more. That's the split I'm talking about. OK. So we're talking about the pillars, all right? Republicans, limited government, lower taxes, America first, social conservatism. Okay, the America first is kind of, we're not all the way over there, but we understand it is patriotism. We do care about our country. Okay. And Democrats, social programs, equity, civil rights, inclusion. Inclusion is the one that got her going. Inclusion, and it was another word. I can't remember the word right now, but it was another one. But basically it was talking about, and she turned this and shifted into this whole thing talking about the gays. All right, but we'll get into that in a second. Okay, here's a kicker. We got overlap with both. Morally, culturally, we can lean conservative. Politically, we vote liberal. Why? Because Republicans been hostile to us forever, and Democrats been promising us the world and giving us breadcrumbs. And let me go on and stop this and say this. Okay, I already know, yes, the original party of slavery used to be the Democrats and blah, 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 blah. Y'all forgot about Jim Crow laws and everything, and then after they came up with civil rights laws, pay homage to the fact that a lot of those people that were Democrats that didn't support civil rights and stuff like that, a lot of those people did a mass migration from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party around this time too. So let's just get past all that, okay? Anyways, so I asked a question, and I've been asking it for years. Why not just our own party? Why are we still begging for seats at their table when we got the numbers, the money, and the cultural influence to build our own? And it doesn't just have to be Black people. It could just be minorities. It could be, Hispanic people could be a part of this party. Indigenous people could be a part of this party if they wanted to. Anyway, and we'll get into the indigenous later. But anyways, I'm just saying, there's ways, we have enough influence. We have enough money in our community. I don't know if you guys saw that show by Killer Mike that he did on Netflix. It was a special where basically he started his own community within America legally. He bought the land and all that stuff. It was actually fascinating because they try to set up their own government and all this other good stuff, right? But yeah, I'm not saying we got to make our own Black colony, but our own political party, that would be fire, right? What's wrong with that? And y'all also know, if y'all don't know, y'all about to find out right now, I'm a big proponent of boosting a third party. I feel like we need to add more parties, at least one, but preferably more parties, prominent parties that take away a lot of the power and voters in a Democratic bloc and a Republican bloc. That way we can get fairer elections and more representation, okay? I don't think the Green Party is serious. I don't think the Libertarian Party is serious, okay? Even though I voted for Chase Oliver last year. Every time I bring that up, all right, build our own party, people hit me with, it'll split the vote. Fam, The vote's already split. We've been split for decades. We're already negotiating for scraps. Why not negotiate from power? Why not stop choosing between survival, representation, and reform like they're separate lanes and build something that covers all three? Okay? Then, yesterday, I get into this other live with Jethro, my online homie, that he's hosting, and we're talking on a thing for a long time. And then we get this one chick that comes on there, and it's like, this ain't just a black thing, you know? Okay, so this lady is from Puerto Rico, right? She's breaking down how Puerto Ricans can't even vote on their own issues unless they come to the mainland, and she calls herself an anarchist. Not chaos anarchist, but like self-governance. You should look it up, all right? Not the let's burn it all down, okay? Big difference. And a lot of people try to paint them, the worst one, as if they're all that. But please, do your homework. Y'all know how I am. Do your homework. Go check it out, okay? I'm just saying, this is a system, and we've made strides to fix the system or to get out of what it used to be to what it is now. And everybody that say stuck on the past, oh, this enslaved you and brought you from your country and blah, 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 blah. They always want you to go against the system. And I'm like, we've been going against the system for hundreds of years. Jesus Christ. Man, we just made a lot of progress. It's not done. We still need to make more. But dang, can we just build on what we've been building on? Why we always got to burn stuff down? So I asked her this simple question, all right? Because I'm like, you know what? Are you guys saying that everything I think is wrong and everything that you guys are saying is right? And they absolutely said, yes. Yes, that's what we're saying. Piss me off. Whatever. Okay, let's play your game. And I'm going to genuinely ask you some questions. Mind you, she was talking about, I don't understand why we can't return the land back to indigenous people. And my simple response is, lady, there's over 360 million people in America. Like, what happens to those 360 million people? And that's the number one question. Nobody ever wants to answer that. Oh, they'll figure it out. Okay, well, yeah, it sounds like they need some kind of order, some kind of government, some kind of system. There ain't no central government. There ain't no central system. How does that work? I'm not saying it can't. I'm just saying, how in your mind do you see it working? Because I don't see it working. Then I asked, I just said, hey, just indulge me, okay? Didn't tribes fight? Didn't tribes want to expand their borders and get more territory or whatever the case is? And it's like, oh, that's so disingenuous, okay? Her spazzing was crazy. Like, she said I was disingenuous, but my point was simple. Don't get so lost in nostalgia that you ignore reality. Every system has flaws, tribes, nations, parties. So the question isn't past versus present. It's what do we build now that actually works? If you look on my platform, I am giving my ideas of solutions of ways that I can work. Will they work? I don't know. They haven't been practiced. They're just ideas. It's just theory. But I just want you to understand that I'm not just saying, let's go back to this and not willing to answer questions that come to me. I didn't even get to the next question. So what do we do to stop conflict from other people? Because you think that if America would dissolve back into what it was, that China and Russia and these people wouldn't be looking to attack us? Wouldn't be looking to take us over? Think about our enemies in the Middle East and stuff like that. You think they don't want retribution? They still got smoke for us. So what we gonna do? I didn't get to ask that question because she's spazzing, saying I'm asking a disingenuous question. I'm genuinely asking because I'm trying to learn. If I don't ask these questions, how do I learn what you're talking about? How can I defend your position if I take your position? Jesus Christ. Everybody just wants to be right, and y'all know how I feel about that. Being in Chicago right now is wild. This is a city where that family tension feels bigger than family. It's community versus community. Old black Chicago versus new black Chicago. And the OGs versus the YNs. And nobody wants to admit we actually want the same thing. Safety, dignity, a shot at building something better than what we were handed. All right, so now it's time to talk money. And not just any money. We're talking about trillions, like national debt level trillions. The kind of money that makes even Jeff Bezos sweat, okay? Here's the problem, right? America is $34 trillion, over $34 trillion. I think we're like 36, almost 37 trillion in debt, right? Every year we pay over $600 billion. Right now we're getting closer to $1 trillion in just interest. Not principal, just the interest. That's money that could be building schools, fixing roads, paying teachers, or even just not making us broke. And how do we fix it? Right now, the tax code is basically Swiss cheese, full of holes for billionaires and big corporations. The middle class pays steady, but the ultra rich, They've got yachts big enough to dodge the IRS. Last episode, I told you guys that I was going to tell you guys my tax idea. I plan on doing a special episode, but the way I broke down my episodes for the weekly thing, it was just too much to do a brand new episode, not to mention I've been at work all month. This is my new tax plan and reform on the budget and all this other good stuff, all right? Imagine this. What if we cut middle class taxes, close billionaire loopholes, and use the money not to start new wars, but to pay off the debt in about 12 years. Yeah, 12, not 50, 12. Okay? It cuts middle class taxes 11% to 16% versus 12 to 18%. It closes billionaire loopholes, fair share from wealth, luxury, and Wall Street taxes. Okay, public options for health care, housing, and groceries. Lower costs for everyone, not just the poor people, everybody can benefit from this. It raises for there are raises for teachers and police funded by new state revenue share. It cuts waste, trims defense fat, reform prisons, and fixes immigration. That's another thing I want to say. It will require a reform in immigration, but that's a whole nother talk. Okay, and it pays off the national debt in 12 years. No more of that high interest payments, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars in payments. We will not be dealing with that. After debt payoff, surpluses go to schools, roads, and lower costs. Who benefits? The middle class and small businesses. Lower taxes, affordable essentials, states and communities. $200 billion per year extra for school safety and infrastructure. Future generations, no debt burden, and way more funds for innovation. Who pays more? The ultra wealthy, wealth tax, luxury tax, and cap deductions. Mind you, there's still ways for you guys to deduct that money, but the only way that you're going to be able to get away from paying your fair share is if you're giving it to something else that's going to help. A charitable organization that is not controlled by you, by the way. An actual charitable organization, or giving it in payments to other folks, or putting it into your children, investing into their schools and stuff like that. That is the way, and lowering the cost of what it costs for schools, okay? Big corporations, no more offshore loopholes. We're charging bonus taxes. You're not going to just start hiding your money like that. Okay, Wall Street speculators, small transaction fee on high frequency trades. It's just fair. And let's kill this myth while we're here. Every time someone talks about taxing the rich, somebody yells, but they'll just leave. They'll move to Monaco. They'll buy an island. That's called capital flight, guys. And here's the thing. It doesn't actually happen like that. Study after study shows rich people mostly stay put. They've got businesses. Their kids go to school here. Their networks are here. Uprooting just to save a few percent in taxes, rare. Plus, we close offshore loopholes in this plan anyway. So if you do leave, cool. But you'll still be paying U.S. taxes on U.S. income. So pack light. You will have to give up U.S. citizenship. Do you really think these people are trying to give it up? Have you seen how beautiful the U.S. is? There's a reason why we think we're the greatest country in the world. And it's not just because we have the strongest military. It's not just because we have the highest GDP. Okay? It's also geography. But we'll get into that later. Okay? Here's the part that flips the game. Public options for healthcare, housing, and groceries. Privately managed, government-backed. They're cheaper, they compete with the market, and they cut out the middleman. That means Medicare costs drop, SNAP costs drop, Section 8 costs drop. And once those programs break even in about 7 years, all that extra money goes straight into paying down the debt. Okay, real life impact and loop back. What does that mean for you? Lower taxes, cheaper groceries, affordable housing, public health care that doesn't bankrupt you, better pay for teachers and cops, and for once, a government that actually stops borrowing your kids' future just to cover today's bills. 12 years. That's one generation. We fix the books, shrink the wealth gap, and finally give the middle class room to breathe. And if that sounds radical to you, ask yourself this. Is it more radical to fix the system or to keep doing what got us over $36 trillion hole? All right, let's widen the lens even further, because America's not the only one dealing with this two truths problem. Look at Ukraine, the Budapest Memorandum. On paper, peace agreements. In reality, power moves. So what do you honor, the promise or the reality? Let's get into it, man. Global frequency. In 1994, Ukraine gave up the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world. Over 1,900 warheads in exchange for promises. Russia promised to respect their borders, theirs being Ukraine's, and the U.S. and U.K. promised to have their back. Fast forward 30 years. Tanks roll into Crimea. Bombs drop on Kyiv. And those promises, paper, gone. This was the Budapest Memorandum, a political handshake dressed up as security. It wasn't legally binding, but Ukraine believed it meant something. They gave up their nukes and they trusted the West and got left hanging when it mattered the most. See, the memorandum was never a treaty. It was assurances carefully worded to avoid real obligations. So basically, he said, hey, we promise we won't mess with you, but if someone else does, we'll strongly condemn them. And that's why when Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, the West did sanctions, but no soldiers. And in 2022, when Russia went full invasion, we still hesitated. Billions in aid, yeah. Javelins and HIMARS, yeah. But no boots on the ground, no direct enforcement of that promise that we made with them to get them to give up the ultimate thing that would have slowed down Russia. Okay? Don't get me started about how we can connect this to Iran and all this other stuff. Let's just stay there. And look, this is where I break from the popular opinion. I personally think we should have done more. I think the U.S. should have put boots on the ground, period. Or at a minimum, gone way harder and way faster with lethal aid, less restrictions, more urgency. Pretty much what we did for Israel, we should have done for Ukraine. That's how I feel. Okay, I was mad at Obama about not doing it. I'm mad at Biden for not doing it. And I'm mad at Trump. Why? Because we'd already been training Ukraine's forces since 2014. We already watched Crimea fall and done basically nothing. That greenlit Russia to go further. And I don't buy that Russia would have gone nuclear if we stepped in. Nuclear weapons are last resort. Survival of the state level. Not, hey, you help my enemy shoot down some tanks. We weren't trying to take Russian territory. We were trying to uphold borders we promised to protect. And if we can scramble jets for Israel overnight, why couldn't we do it for Ukraine? A country we literally signed paperwork to protect. Now I get the other side. People are tired of forever wars. Iraq, Afghanistan, 2 decades of blood and trillions spent. Nobody wanted another U.S. war. And yeah, going toe-to-toe with Russia, that's not like fighting insurgents in Fallujah. That's fighting a nuclear power. One wrong move and suddenly you've got WW3 headlines. NATO wasn't even unanimous about deeper involvement. Germany was hesitant. Hungary's still playing both sides. So it's complicated. And here's the part that stings. The Budapest Memorandum's collapse doesn't just affect Ukraine. It wrecks global trust in disarmament. Why should every country or any country ever give up nukes again? North Korea's watching. Iran's watching. Even Japan's quietly debating whether it needs its own deterrent now. Nuclear-armed countries don't get invaded. Non-nuclear ones, they get promises, and history shows how fragile those promises are. So here's the gut punch. Is honor worth anything if power ignores it? Are international promises just speeches waiting to be broken? And zooming in, forget about geopolitics for 1 second, okay? What about our promises to our families, to our friends, to our communities? How often do we break our word when it gets inconvenient? That's the part that hit me hardest looking at Budapest. It's not just about Ukraine, it's about all of us. And you know what's wild? I realized I've got my own little Budapest Memorandum moment. Last episode, I told y'all about London, all right, about my bag getting stolen at King's Cross. Laptop, flash drives, years of work gone. And just like Ukraine, I made promises to myself. Back up your files. Keep that bag close. I broke them. And when everything vanished, I was looking around for somebody to save me. The same way Ukraine was looking around for the West. But sometimes the hardest promises to enforce are the ones you make to yourself. No NATO's coming for that. No cavalry. Just you. And whether you keep your own word. Guys, it's so important. All right. I talk about global frequency and I talk about, you know, these things because I want people, I'm trying to humanize these conversations. All right. And let me be completely honest. All right. MAGA gets on my goddamn nerves. They talk about they don't want these forever wars, but they don't understand that participating in the world market was a U.S. idea. The U.S. wanted to tie the entire world financially because they felt like if we tied them financially, it will be able to serve as a mechanism to prevent wars. We wanted denuclearization. Don't forget the NPT is not about controlling nukes and just keeping them in a few people's hands. It really ultimately wants to get rid of all nukes and only keep nuclear energy to power grids and stuff like that, not to be used as weapons. Okay, and we saw this in Syria. We saw this in Sudan, I believe, Libya. Like when people give up their nukes okay, that they had, the purpose was that they will be protected. Their boundaries and borders will be protected. Now, if they collapse internally, that's a completely different thing. But externally, there should be no pressure. So that is the problem with Russia. They keep violating these not treaties, but these agreements for whatever reason, and everybody's afraid of stepping up to them. And guess who everybody looks to step to them? Who everybody looks for guidance when it comes to that? The U.S. And it's not because everybody decided it. It's because we told them we would do it. Not to Russia, but to anybody. We came up with these ideas. We brokered these agreements. We fund the UN. We're the biggest contributor to NATO. Look, let me break this conspiracy theory, okay? MAGA. Do you guys really believe that if we weren't participating in wars overseas, that they would take that money and redirect that money back to us? I mean, really? Really, really, really? Do you really, really believe that? Let's be for real. I'm not going to say on this, okay? I hope you guys get this point. And speaking of promises, y'all promised me feedback last episode. Y'all delivered. For real. So let's open this up. I fact checked myself, cleared some stuff up, and yeah, I got smoke. I actually go back, I watch these episodes as if I'm a fan after I put them out. That way I don't, I know that it's been put out and everything, and then I watch it and I fact check myself sometimes. Sometimes I go and look for stuff, and if I find anything wrong, I put that information at the bottom in the description on my full-length episode, and I edit it when I do my shorts, okay? So I fact-check myself, guys. But you guys are welcome to fact-check me, too. I'm not against fact-checking like some people. Now, some of y'all be in my comments talking something crazy, right? Y'all be talking hella spicy. Y'all be in these lives extra, extra spicy, like LA tacos with red sauce spicy. Like, y'all really want smoke. Cool. Let's talk about it. This is my new segment. Who wants smoke? Okay. Target 1. The Misread My Podcast Name crew. I don't remember the name of the freaking live, but there was a live that I got into. All right. And once again, I get into these lives. I go live definitely to learn and to impart wisdom or whatever, to debate and everything, in good fun. So I try to get into this one debate. And these people looked at the name. They finally, I waited a long time, and they finally brought me up. I'm like, cool. I get to talk, and I get to push back because the pushback wasn't good, and these people were creaming these people, and they were spitting out lies. And I was like, yo, I got my evidence, I got my information. I'm gonna go. I came up and said, hey, look at his name. Oh, and my name shows up as the Minority Report Podcast. These idiots thought that I report podcasts. So they block. Oh, yeah, we get rid of him and blocking him. You guys are freaking idiots. That just so happened to be a MAGA podcast or a MAGA live. Target number 2, the podcast Paranoia crew. Okay. Another live, waited forever to get into. They finally brought me up, and then they saw I have a podcast, and they kicked me off. And they said, and you better not use this on your podcast, record this. They probably already recorded right now. I'm like, you could literally go look at my page and see I have never done that. And why would I want to start with your little funky little podcast with only like 50 or 60 people watching? Okay, target 3. So, Miss Jess, okay, respectfully, just like you wanted me to look up what an anarchist is, look up the definition of disingenuous. Don't call me disingenuous when I ask you a question, because I'm trying to seek understanding. I wasn't asking a question so that I can destroy your idea, even though I didn't agree with you. I was literally asking because I wanted to know if I could understand it and agree with you. Okay? Taco was saying, burn everything down. Just like, I don't agree, but I get it. And I'm like, okay, but what happens after it's burned down? How do you handle that conflict? Tribes fight each other. How do you fix that? Just label me disingenuous instead of answering the question. Okay? Y'all romanticize the fire, but never think about the rebuild. Every forest that burns down grows back. Question is, do you want weeds or do you want food? Anarchism fantasies sound good until you need solutions for 360 million people. Target number 4, smoke. Smoke for these two, Mr. Thomas and Miss Jean. Okay, and everybody else on that panel. Tasha, I'm kind of cool with you. You wasn't really all that foul. You feel me? But your live was centered on BIPOC issues, but spiraled into men are always a problem rhetoric. Any critique of that framing was dismissed. It felt like a no-win convo. Either agree or be labeled the problem. And even if you agree, you were still the problem. If your whole solution to oppression is flipping the oppressor card, cool. But don't act like that's liberation. Trading one villain for another ain't freedom. It's just a remix. Real progress requires nuance, not just flipping blame. I refer back to my opening little thing, my little display, and I refer you back to what I said on my last episode, okay? Target 5, Black Conservative Live, anti-gay focus, okay? The whole platform is built around anti-gay rhetoric because y'all were trying to act like, oh, just because the gays, LGBTQ community will be kind of in the whole inclusion / I can't remember the word, but basically saying that we accept how they live. Like, we're not saying that we're with it, we're just saying that they live how they live. Who cares? And she said, why should we accept it? Why should we include them? I'm not saying include LGBTQ in what we're trying to do. I'm just saying to act like they shouldn't exist, to act like there are, and I don't look at episode 1 and 2. I'm not with the LGBTQ plus movement. I don't have a problem with gays. I travel with gays. I work with gays all the time. I have gay friends. All I'm saying is I just don't like the movement. And guess what? There's a lot of them who are like, we're not with some of the stuff that they're asking for too. So it's not just me. But with that being said, I'm the one defending y'all in this over here. And I was like, what done switched over here? Like, open your mind, lady. Culture wars distract from actual policy and solutions, okay? Target 6, Bill and Verna. I'm coming for y'all, okay? I'm just playing with y'all, man. I love y'all. They have a great podcast. Y'all make sure y'all check that out. They do it live like almost every day, man. And every time I get a chance to chime in, it's always a great time. I got smoke for y'all, but if you guys are joining my coalition of pushing for a third party and everything, then we're cool. We already made progress, Verna. Like, Bill, you have the footage. Please do not delete that footage. I might need that, okay? And that brings me to my last target. Aaron. My coalition is getting stronger. I'm coming for you. I'm going to debate you on this third party thing, and I believe I'm going to turn you into a believer. I'm just saying. No, for real, like, regardless if I had disagreements with all those folks earlier or not, I do wish y'all the best. I hope you guys, continue to spread the good word and get better, even if I don't agree with your message or whatnot. I hope you guys continue to educate yourselves and that you guys see much success in the future, and that we do get a chance to debate again with a bigger audience, and hopefully we can actually get some more input and not just the few that were in there at those times, okay? Because this is all a community, guys. At the end of the day, even though we don't agree, we're not supposed to always agree on everything, but we're supposed to respect each other. And I respect you guys heavily for the work that you guys are doing. And I hope even when we're talking about, the super smokers, Mr. Thomas and Miss Jean, that I debated, whatever. I hope you guys see that I actually took the time to research these things, to look at what they're doing, and to put these out to my growing audience. And hopefully people will see this and we can start achieving the same goals. Because I do think that regardless of whoever I talk to, there is some kind of common ground. And whatever that common ground is, that is what I seek to expose and to seek to grow on, so that we can continue to build community. Because that is what the world is supposed to be. That is what America's supposed to be. All right, man. I just want to thank everybody, man. Thank you, guys. I have seen the largest growth of TikTok followers. I've seen a huge growth. I've actually doubled my numbers. It's not that many, but I've doubled my numbers on YouTube and are growing higher as far as subscribers. And, I'm getting a lot more views. The algorithm's working for us, man. It's working. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much, man. It's so important to get this kind of stuff out. I apologize for the technical issues. I promise you guys I have an idea of how to prevent this from ever happening again. This happened a couple of episodes ago, and I found a way to fix it. And then that fix no longer works because I don't have that laptop. I got new equipment. I don't have my sound effects back, but hopefully by next month edition, I will have the sound effects back and we can get back to that. Thank you guys for rocking for me. Everybody who cared enough to ask me was I okay after my stuff got stolen in London last month. Thank you guys for all the love and outpouring of support. I even had some people offering to send me some money. I don't need the money. Thank you guys. I'm quite well off, but I do appreciate and I am honored that you guys thought so much about me to do that. Shout out to everybody. I will be going live more in other people's lives, and I will be starting my own live hopefully this month too. That's the plan. Especially talk about this money plan and everything. So hopefully you guys go look out for that. Shout out to you guys. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, share, all the above and below. All that stuff is so important. And I thank you guys for who have done it. Please share the good word. Keep saving this in your bookmarks, reposting, all that. I just need all the love, man. It helps me. It helps the algorithm push me higher. And I hope that my message is landing well. Shout out to everybody who loves. Right now, my top post right now is one where I'm talking about the reform as far as getting the government to pay. Apparently some people like my ideas, and I want to say this too. It's actually the most hilarious thing because I get so much pushback every time I talk on a MAGA panel. They think I'm liberal. Every time I talk on a liberal panel, they think I'm MAGA. It's like, god dang. So once again, right here in the center. So look, we started this whole thing with two glasses. Remember, unequal, unfair. Then we mixed them. Right? New color, new taste, right? That's life, right? Two truths, one choice. Safety or freedom, fairness or ambition, justice or forgiveness. Most of us want all of it, but real life doesn't serve that menu. And here's the kicker. Even not choosing is a choice, because the world don't stop moving while you figure it out. So what are you willing to live with? Whose glass do you want to drink from? Or do you want to risk tasting the mix? Still tastes the same. Still real. With that being said, my name is Mike B. Minor. This is a Minority Report, episode 5, and the mic has been dropped.